If you're a warrior and you're leading warriors and you're about to step into battle, one of the key things you must have is an absolute confidence, because that radiates out of you. You're giving to them the warrior spirit. Semper Fidelis means that if you are a foe before me, I will not quit until you fall.
What keeps you awake at night?
Nothing. And I keep other people awake at night.
The Marine just plain considers himself a better soldier than anybody else. Marines have never given anyone any reason to think differently.
We are unique, not just among our fellow citizens, but among all those who defend our nation. We are defined by our warfighting ethos, our intangible warrior spirit that moves us forward into any battle, in any domain, and binds us not only to the Marine on our left and right, but to all Marines who came before us. Current events around the world show us that peace is far from guaranteed. America's adversaries continue to present an ever-evolving threat to our nation's prosperity and security. Today, almost 31,000 Marines are forward deployed or stationed abroad. In every theater and every time and place, standing ready to confront those who would do our nation harm.
The American strength is based upon the fabric of all of the different cultures and people that come to it. And that applies on the battlefield, and I've seen that there. That is an essence of the power of the American fighting spirit.
For 247 years, capable and determined adversaries have tested the Marine Corps.
The enemy knows when they see that EGA and they see a real Marine hooked to that EGA, that could be a serious situation.
On each occasion, our forebears gave them reason to fear and respect the title United States Marine. Our adversaries have always had a choice: abandon their aggressions or stand and fight. Some chose to fight and were destroyed. Today, our adversaries still have a choice, and they know if they choose to fight, they will be defeated. From the wheat fields of Belleau Wood, to the volcanic sands of Iwo Jima, to the crowded streets of Hue City or Ramadi, Marines prove time and time again they will claim victory on any battlefield.
Our mission was stay on the compound. Well, things happen, situations change, and we got a call that Gunny from the Marine Security Guard Force, the RSO, and their driver were involved in a vehicle accident. We were driven out to the crash site. Liberian rebels.
It would be impossible for me to say
anything that they had
with any amount of confidence
that makeshift backboard.
I would be where and who I
stabilized them and got all of our personnel. You're trained for it, but you know, there's variables in there that you could never prepare for, and so you just go with it.
And while battlefields and technologies change, the qualities of a Marine are timeless. Grit, strength, boldness, discipline, initiative, adaptability, honor.
We follow it's almost impossible to not continue on and to not want to become the best version of yourself personally, but professionally as a Marine as well.
These qualities were birthed by the legacy of the old breed. Those like Herschel Williams.
He really just was a huge inspiration growing up. I loved warrior figures, and he was the main one.
It's the legacy of the Marines who came before us, and of our Marines today. When the nation calls, we answer. As America's premier crisis response force, Marines thrive in chaotic situations where friction is highest.
We have to always understand that there's always been troops on the deck, taking the fight to the enemy on their distant lands.
We are proud to be first to fight, and we are ready today and tomorrow. Standing ready with undying devotion to the Lord, to the mission, and to each other.
Our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts.
In 2001, when our nation was still reeling from the September 11th terrorist attack, Marines aboard the USS Peleliu and the USS Bataan came from the sea and launched the longest amphibious raid in history.
We came 370 miles from the sea, 25 aircraft. During one period of darkness, we inserted 400 Marines over that distance. We did what we say that we do. We did it in an expeditionary manner, we did it from the ships, and despite a lot of risk, we did it successfully.
The same warfighting spirit that secures our victory in combat comes from our ability to innovate, to iterate, to adapt, and we find inspiration in each other.
I remember my first cat shot in an F-18 into a combat zone. And that was a whirlwind of emotions, right? You're ready to go, you've practiced, you're trained, but you're a little bit nervous. That nervousness, though, I think is good, right? It keeps you sharp.
She is more than an astronaut. She is a Marine whose warfighter ethos shapes who she is. A battle-tested warrior with 47 combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan.
When I'm sitting on top of that rocket and they start to load the prop and it starts to shake and rumble, I hope that I feel a little bit nervous, keeps me sharp. I hope, though, that I have this calmness, knowing that I'm trained, my crew is trained, we are ready to go. And I hope that the second that we launch from planet Earth, that all just disappears and we're in the moment.
While those who threaten our nation remain, America sleeps well at night knowing the future will be no different. Because the Marines are always standing ready.
Across the force, we continue to innovate and experiment in preparation for the future fight. Where we will fight might be uncertain, but we prepare for uncertainty. When called, we will fight and we will win. Today, tomorrow, and in the future. These victories are not won because of our technology or our equipment, but because of all of you. Because of everything you do every day to remain the best trained, most professional, most ready force in the world. That has not changed.
We are warfighters first and always. If the call comes today to go into combat, we will win. But that's no excuse not to be better tomorrow. It is the individual Marines who make up the team. They are the decisive advantage. Whether in combat or in competition, training our future Marines at recruit training, or preparing to deploy on one of our Marine expeditionary units, we have always adapted to the changing character of war. Why we fight and why we win is unchanged. It is our ethos, our character, and our unapologetic resolve to be the most capable and most lethal fighting force in the world.
Marines, you are writing the next chapter of our Corps. Our legacy rests upon your shoulders, and I'm confident you will meet the task.
Semper Fidelis. Happy birthday, Marines.
Good afternoon. This is Veterans Talk. It ain't nothing but a thing, but it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday afternoon. Today we are celebrating the U.S. Marine Corps birthday. Take it away, Marines.
Now, I know it's not what you're used to, so I appreciate you all for tuning in with us. But it's the Marine Takeover. As you can see, you see my background here. I'm surrounded by motivated Marines who are armed and ready to do their part. But what we'd like to do with y'all, ladies and gentlemen, we want to share with you one of our timeless traditions in the Marine Corps. It's our cake cutting ceremony. It's rich in history and symbolism, and I'd like to perform that here for you all today so that you can get a little taste of what we as Marines hold so dear and why the Marine Corps birthday is such a significant piece of our customs and courtesies here in the Marine Corps. So if you can bear with us and watch the symbolism with our tradition, and of course I have to cue the music here, so bear with me. That's the mood music that we do. We get everybody in the mood, of course. It's our Marines hymn, so bear with us here. And again, with the Marines behind me, we're gonna reenact one of our customs and courtesies, our cake cutting ceremony, and we're gonna get that started here for you right now. So stand by. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It is customary at Marine Corps birthday celebrations worldwide for Marines to cut a traditional cut cake in celebration of the birth of our illustrious Corps. After the first piece is given to our guest of honor, the next piece is given to the oldest and youngest Marine present, symbolizing the experience and youthful spirit that are hallmark of our Corps. Our oldest Marine present today is Chief Warrant Officer 4 retired Fred Coles from South Carolina. He was born May 18, 1953. He served from May 1971 to July 2001. He's a veteran of the Vietnam era. The passing of the cake from oldest to youngest Marine symbolizes the passing of history and traditions to the next generation. The youngest Marine present is Sergeant Carlos Maui Sanchez. He was born February 20, 1998 in Falls Church, Virginia. He enlisted in the Marine Corps on July 5, 2016 and is currently assigned to Combat Logistics Regiment 45 as a supply admin personnel. Thank you, Marines. All right, at this time you all can break ranks and let us have the floor. So on behalf of all Marines, I just want to say happy birthday, Marines. Happy 247th Marines. Happy birthday. Hoorah and Semper Fi.
Hoorah, hoorah.
And we can get back to veterans talk now?
No, we want the Marines to talk.
Oh, the Marines can talk a part of it. We can talk a part of veterans talk. Come on.
We got you on the stage.
All right, come on. Come on.
The outstanding service of the Marine Corps. I just want to acknowledge one of my best friends, childhood friends, that was a Marine in Vietnam, who we buried in June of this year. Died from Agent Orange related illnesses. We're concerned in our community today with the Marines, especially with all of the publicity that we're getting about Capital June. Mm-hmm. So, I know that the Marines look out for each other like paratroopers all the time. Like paratroopers. I'm gonna put that in for a minute. But can you talk to our audience about some of the Marines and some of the expeditions that you guys have carried out? Eli Clark was a Marine, and I was friends with him from the first grade until he was utilized in June at the age of 76 years old. He was wounded 3 times in Vietnam, and was taken prisoner of war. And he was kept freed by one Marine with a K-bar. So they're doing a movie, K-bar and Courage, and I want you Marines all over to look at that friend of mine. But could you tell us something about the Marines? Just talk about the Marines for a minute. It's your birthday.
Exactly. So I appreciate the opportunity. I never get enough chance to brag about who we are as Marines and what we do. But you mentioned one thing that I do want to touch on. You talked about some of the things that we're dealing with the Camp Lejeune water crisis. Mm-hmm. and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up here briefly. I want to reference everyone to a website. It's atl-mpma.org. Again, atl-mpma.org. Once you go to this website, this is our chapter website. We have a link with tons of information about the Camp Lejeune water crisis. Please go to the website, click the link, and it will take you to a page that gives you tons of information about who we are and what we do. So please go there and check that out. Now back to the Marine Corps. You also mentioned about again, as you see, we have Marines from the Vietnam era here. One project that we hold near and dear to us is our veterans, is our cemetery cleanup. It's down at Linwood Cemetery in Macon, Georgia. What's so unique about this cemetery cleanup is it's the final resting place for Medal of Honor recipient Sergeant Rodney Davis. He received the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. Of course, he lost his life, gave his life in defense of saving several Marines, and he's buried at a local cemetery. So we go down twice a year to preserve that cemetery, to keep it in a good state of police, and to ensure that his final resting place is deserving of all our veterans, a good place of all our veterans. But again, Sergeant Rodney Davis, I encourage you to look him up and his many accolades as well. But again, he's one of the reasons why our chapter is engaged with the cemetery cleanup. Also, we have members in our chapter who was actually in the same platoon as Sergeant Rodney Davis, or replacement platoons for that matter. So we have deep history as well with the Vietnam conflict. We have several of our members who are engaged in that, and then of course with the Sergeant Rodney Davis Memorial down at in the Linwood Cemetery. That's another connection that keeps us honest and ensuring that we're doing our part to take care of our veterans. Fred?
Thanks, Johnny. First of all, thanks a lot for having us here today. As you said, today is the Marine Corps' 247th birthday. I think we look pretty good to be 247 years old. So, as we said, thank you for having us talk about the Marine Corps. But in particular, what we do here in the Atlanta area, we belong to what we call the Montford Point Marine Association. Most people have not heard about the Montford Pointers. I will reference the fact that they served during the same time of the Tuskegee Airmen. However, our heroes did not get the recognition that they should have gotten during that period of time. They served from 1942 to 1949. Now, they're called Montford Pointers because the place that they trained on a piece of land on Camp Lejeune that they carved out and called it Camp Montford Point, hence the Montford Point Marine Association. Now, they served there, as I said, from 1942 to 1949. Then after that, the camp was disbanded, and then we were allowed to train with our brothers and comrades, our white Marines, at Paris Island and at San Diego. Fast forward, when we look at the rich history of the Montford Pointers, as we call it, these are the shoulders that we stand on. And initially, we had one of our original Montford Pointer who was going to be here today, but he was doing some other things with the chapter. 20,000 went through Camp Montford Point during that period of time, during that 42 to 49. And out of those 20,000, we think we probably still have about maybe 2,000 to 3,000 who are still with us. As you know, during that period of time, most of them will be in their early 90s and in the hundreds, you know. But I tell you, those gentlemen, what they did and how they changed history, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. They made the way for myself, as well as our current chapter president, Sergeant Major John Higdon, to do the thing that we do and to flourish in this, economy and in society as a whole. So we don't want to remiss that one. And a lot of times I like to say that The Marine Corps, which you will always hear, they will talk about the boot camp that we go through. They will say, well, we go through Paris Island and we go through San Diego. I like to remind them that, well, actually we have 3. We have a Montfort Point too. So that's a boot camp that they went through as well. So again, we want to thank you for having us. As I said, when I think of the Montfort Pointers, I served as where Johnny is right now, probably about 10, 12 years ago, as Atlanta chapter president. And you probably noticed on my cover, I also served as the Southern Regional Vice President for the association. In that capacity, I had everything from Washington, D.C. to New Orleans, about 24 chapters with under my control. And every one of them, we have 42 chapters throughout the country. Every one of them are doing outstanding work to make sure we get the word out that these men, what they did, they deserve the Congressional Gold Medal, which was awarded to them in 2011. I tell you, I was at that ceremony. After it was passed, President Obama was a president during that period of time. The ceremony was given in all places in Emancipation Hall in Congress. I can tell you, we had maybe about 500 Marines and their spouse or family members there, and there was not a dry eye in the place. I mean, it was a watershed moment. They finally got their just due by receiving the Congressional Gold Medal, which, as most of you know, or if you don't know, the Congressional Gold Medal is the highest civilian award that you can receive from Congress as a civilian. They finally got that. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't say that we're always finding more of these men that served during that period of time. So anyone that may be watching this program, if your grandfather, your great-great-grandfather, or a family member mentioned to you that, you know what, I think maybe my grandfather or my great-great-grandfather may have served during that period of time, please get in contact with this man, me, or anyone, and we'll make sure that they get their just dues, because we are still awarding the Congressional Gold Medal to the family members, of course, posthumously in most cases. Again, I thank you. Johnny, thanks for having me, and happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday. Now, to follow up on the importance, he spoke very eloquently about the importance of what we're doing here. I can't stress enough, our goal for the National Montfort Point Marine Association is to find the rest of the original Montfort Pointers. We were awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, again, like I said, 2011, 2012, but only about 2,000 of those medals have been given out. Approximately 20,000 Montfort Point Marines served during the 1942 to 1949 at Montfort Point Camp. We're trying to find another 18,000. And that's going to require help from all of you all to ask that simple question of your loved one. If your loved one served from 1942 to 1949 in the United States Marine Corps, chances are they're a Montfort Point Marine. And what makes it even more special is it's a game changer for families.
Absolutely.
Because families, the reason that the Montfort Point Marine story is so historic is it was a situation that was never meant to be. The story wasn't meant to be told, but they defied the odds. They exceeded and succeeded all expectations, and now the story can't be kept in. The story is out. They changed the Marine Corps forever. They made it where all Marines can serve in the Marine Corps. But imagine knowing, as a family today, knowing that your grandfather, your great-grandfather was a part of history as such. That's why it's so important. If you know of anyone who you think may be a Montfort Point Marine, please reach out to the chapter. Again, atlanta.mpma@gmail.com. Send us a message. Let us know. We'll help you do the research, and we'll try to get you and your loved one the recognition they deserve as an original Montfort Point Marine, because they are truly historic and worthy of being recognized for the contributions they made to American history. So on this Marine Corps birthday, it's only fitting that we bring attention to the reason that we're here today, and that's our Montfort Point Marines.
I personally want to thank you guys, and I was watching Tony when you guys was talking, because we're doing something that's very much like yours, but it's kind of all encompassing to make the sacrifice local.
Yes.
We're doing a memorial in Atlanta Historic Piedmont Park for the 200 plus young men that's from Fulton County, Georgia. That were killed in Vietnam. Now you can go to Washington D.C. and see all these same names in Washington D.C. and then we got what's that, John Creek that has the moving wall. But nowhere in their hometowns are these guys recognized. And what we're finding is very similar to you, because these are Vietnam era guys. Their families might be gone. So what we're doing, we're going to the schools that was in existence during that time period and coming up with information about these young men. So we would definitely be delighted to share the information that we do.
Absolutely.
That find out,
That's
and
awesome.
we'll make that a part of our search.
That's awesome.
Because I believe in that if it's only when we recognize the families for their sacrifices and for their contributions to this democracy, is that they're going to embrace it the way we do. We pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yes, sir.
And I think one of the things that we can learn from the Memphis Marines, because they probably never really got to the full integration of the military, because it didn't actually start until 1954. So they never had the opportunity to know that we are truly better together. And on their shoulders, we built the best military the world has ever seen. Because of our diversity, we are better together. And so I'm really thankful for you guys bringing this to us, because this is where we are. Trying to make sure that the community, learn to appreciate the services that we provide to this
Absolutely.
country. So, I want to salute your chapter, and I'm always, saluting every branch of the military. So I want to salute your chapter and what you guys are doing. So thank you. Tony, you want to say something? I saw you. See, Tony is probably the detail man for the Sons of Atlanta.
Okay.
Vietnam Memorial Wall, and we're running through the schools, we're running through communities now, trying to find families.
Yes.
So that they can be truly recognized for what they have contributed to this democracy. So thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, Tony, we will make sure that we pass this to the guys in our chapter, especially during that era, to make sure that they get in contact with you so they can be recognized.
Right.
And of course, we do have our very own Larry McCrone,
Right.
who's resident with this organization as well. So that partnership is a match made in heaven. So this is gonna work out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because Larry, when he ain't out of town, he busy him.
Agreed.
We say, the harvest is great, but the workers are few.
Oh yeah.
And, that's what come about when you got chapters like this. You're gonna find people that can work and make things happen. So I'm delighted to have you guys, and I'm hoping you come back and not host a show, but let's talk about some of the other stuff that we know. That had the Memphis Marines be in existence today, they want to make sure that every Marine and family that was exposed to that Camp Lejeune stuff are getting the benefits that they deserve.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure that they do. We're trying to make sure that all the Marines, the families, and people that was exposed to the contaminated water at Camp Lejeune know about it. See, one of the things that we're finding out, a lot of people got ailments that was at Camp Lejeune that not privy to the news media every day, don't even know about it.
Absolutely.
That's why I say, so the link, the chapter website I shared with you all with, there's a lot of plans for having future town halls about it. There's so much more information coming out about that Camp Lejeune water situation. And I'll definitely make sure I keep you all engaged so you can pass the word to your audience as well. But we're in contact with a lot of people who are connected in that area, and they're getting the word out. And I know there's future town halls planned. Dates aren't established yet, but they're planning future town halls in this area to discuss just that. And I definitely will make sure your audience is aware of those dates.
And one of the things I want to talk about, something that we did just last week at our monthly membership meeting. Fundraising for nonprofits are definitely hard now. But we come up with something that we want to share with you guys, and it's called Veterans in Service to the USA. Now this has to do with the ERC program. This is Employee Retention Credit. Now it's being ran through the IRS right now, but it is a tax rebate for businesses. So I know we do most of our fundraising with businesses. So now I want to give you something you can tell the businesses. If you can get the businesses to this information, we can make sure that you guys get money for doing that.
Good deal.
Just tell the business, any business in your community that you're dealing with that got 5 or more W-2 employees, they can get up to $10,000 per employee in this tax rebate. Now this is a part of the CARES Act. So we want to make sure that veteran service organizations and veteran providers can know about these funds and know that they can become a part of these organizations that's getting these funds, and you can get some of the funds as a result thereof.
So tell me, so you're saying that $10,000 per employee. Wow. So does that come to the organization or
the business owner?
To the business owner.
When the business owner gets their money, we get a percentage of what they get.
So gotcha.
Say if a guy is getting $1 million, the bottom line, which is our accounting firm, gets 10%, and we get 30% of what they get. So we get, out of every $100,000 they generate, we get $30,000. That's good money for organizations. So
absolutely.
We've got to set up veteran service organizations to get it.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. So what we're trying to do, and another thing we've done, and we're going to challenge you guys to do it down south, is that we got Fulton County to set up a veteran service program. And this year they gave $1 million to nonprofit organizations in the community to carry out these programs to address issues that we have, especially up here in Atlanta. We got a homeless veteran problem. You'll be surprised how much surplus land, surplus properties, surplus vehicles that your county, city, and state own that you can get for nothing. And we want to try to get organizations to focus on these resources, because during these times when inflation and all the other kind of issues that we have in our community, we're not able to feel the lack, so crime is going up. If you got lack, you got crime. So veteran service organizations can get these surplus properties. It's designed for veteran service organizations to get, and so we're trying to build a network to help veteran service organizations get throughout the state.
So you connected with most of the VSOs in this area? You are? Okay.
Yeah, we're connected. We have 17 chapters in the state of Georgia, Vietnam Veterans of America. We're in every state. And we work with the American Legion, DAV, and Larry just hooked us up with AMVEX. So,
okay.
So we're there in the community trying to get all these organizations to come together, and you can get your counties to put up funds. The same kind of funding they put up for senior programs in the community, they're putting up for veterans programs in Fulton County. So we want to kind of share that information for you, because you need the resources to do the work you're doing. You can't do it without resources. You're right. Well, me and Tony, we know what that means, because we're coming out of our own pockets.
Oh yeah.
So we want to kind of enlighten the other organizations, share the information we got, and if you're interested in it, I can give you some information. Please. You can become a referral partner in the DRC program. And while you talking with business about donation, do something for them.
There you go.
And it don't cost you anything to get involved either. That's because it's a government program.
Right.
Great.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Very good information. Yeah.
So now let's go back into the Marines a little bit. We had some things about training in the Marine Corps a few years ago. Talk about the training how is training different now than when the Marcus Marines was training. Talk about that, because see, a lot of people think that military training is too strenuous. I think it was good for me. I think being a paratrooper made me a better citizen.
I'll start with this one. So training, clearly the difference in training between the Mounted Point Marines and, say, modern day Marines is the Mounted Point Marines had to go through a couple other barriers. They had to deal with a lot of with the racism and things of that nature. So that means the training they got initially was for people who didn't want them to be there, and their goal was get them to push them away and hope they wouldn't come back. I mean, you see some of my videos where they were told, pretty much, they were told that just leave, just leave. Nobody will come looking for you. But again, thankfully, they found the next level. They persevered. They knew that they would that they could do it. They pretty much were issued a challenge, and they knew that they could do it, and they showed everybody they could do it. Now, I will say, what's unique about the Mounted Point Marines, though, if you talk, like, again, we have a couple of them here in our chapter today, 97-year-old Ambassador Brendan, 99-year-old Mr. James Pack. When you're talking about the Marine Corps, or they're in a situation like this where they're around Marines and Marine Corps music, they stand just as tall as anyone else. Their salute is just as strong as anyone else. When they talk about the Marine Corps, they talk about how much they love the Marine Corps. Despite all they went through with the hardships and training, and they got some stories that'll shock you. But despite all they went through, they still say what you said. It was the best training in the world. Did the best thing for them, and they're better people for that.
And one of the things that bothers me when I'm out in the schools, and I want to encourage you guys to hook up with your junior ROTC in the school, and go out and encourage these young people, because they have a mind for service already. All they need to do is be better educated than I was when I went into the military. If I had been a little bit better educated, I'd have been a better soldier. And I think that's what we can do. As veterans in our community, is to help our young people that's already service-minded, because less than 1% of the population ever served in the U.S. military.
Absolutely.
So we need to be continued, though, because this is the only way that we're going to protect the democracy worldwide. So I want to thank you, Tony. You got some more to this, Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things we were discussing. Yes. One of the things we were discussing last week about the training that we received in the military. And it was amazing how well we were trained to do the jobs that we did.
Right.
I mean, they left no stone unturned. The challenge we had is once we left the military, once it was time to, we were never transitioned. We were never given the quality of training going out of the military that we received going in.
Right.
And as a result, that's why we're having a lot of the challenges that we're having, even as early as today, with young men and women coming out of the military and not being able to move back into society that they left.
Well,
and that's something that has been a challenge for me. And we had a young lady last week that was discussing those types of challenges, and that's why we're seeing the suicides. That going into the military, there was never a challenge with suicide. And we received some strenuous training, particularly those of us who had never been in a situation with other people in training. And those of us who had never really associated with other races. And now, you're being, told how to live with someone else, how to depend on all the stuff that we were taught in the military. And the challenge that was a major part of the discussion that I had was that they don't do it when we're leaving. And, and that's when we need it the most.
Yeah. And you're absolutely correct. And honestly, I think it's incumbent upon all of us. I mean, most of us, as you said right now, we are retired. I mean, I've been retired now for 22 plus years, but during my tenure in the military, which spanned 30 years, and you're absolutely right, during that period of time, during different eras, a lot of things changed during that period of time. Now, I think with my oldest son spending 8 years in the Marine Corps, as a matter of fact, I can remember when we went into Afghanistan, he was behind this 151, on a tow truck going in. and his grandmother giving me a call in the middle of the night, which I hadn't seen the news at that time, but she was freaking out like, oh, I can't believe that. But I of course, we saw the difference in the years. But I think, as you said, we as a force and we as a military community, we need to delve back into the people who are in charge to let them know, listen, these are some of the things that we're seeing. Now, grant you, I realize that once you're out, you probably don't have the soapbox that we had when we were in, you know. But again, our elected officials, as you said, as well as military personnel, maybe the VA or other veterans group, to let them know this is what we're seeing. These are the things that we're seeing. Where are we failing? I mean, obviously there's a failure somewhere down the line, because you said, I know doing my tenure, I don't think we had. There's always been homelessness. We know that, right? But I don't think we had the amount of homelessness that we see now, and the period of suicide and things like that. But then again, and Johnny maybe can speak to this, but when I look back at it as well, then I look at my standpoint from 71, you know, to 2001. You know, during that period of time, we may have deployed to one different combat situation. Okay, whereas the younger troop, heck, I mean, as I said, my son, he spent 8 years, but he would call me and says, okay, well, you know, well, Dad, they just got back. They're back at Camp Pendleton for 6 months. And then he's going again. So, you know, then we see, right, we see that. So the impact that is having, this is what we're realizing right now. This is exactly what we're seeing right now. Because, I mean, being in combat 3 and 4 times within 5 years, it's unheard of.
And you know, and that's why I think it's so important for veteran service organizations to be connected to the military.
Right.
You know, and talking with them, and then being the advocate, because we know the military code of conduct don't let them say nothing back.
Right.
You know, and we don't want them to. We want them to have a successful military career. So we need to be engaging the elected officials and talking about these things, and that's what me and Tony do. We go downtown, we knock on the doors. You know, they see us coming, they try to outrun us, but they know we come right back, because you know we are on a mission. And that mission is to make the military veteran a real part of our communities.
Right.
A real part. You know, the value part and the plight part. You know, they don't want to take some parts of our community don't want to take responsibility for the mental illnesses that result sometimes from military service.
A lot.
They don't want to take responsibility.
Right.
Well, we got to push that.
Yeah. So I look at it today, because I'm kind of on the newer era. Recently retired in 2019, and I look at it similar to it's the unknown now. So the deployment cycle we're dealing with now is a study in action, meaning the things that we know today. Again, Vietnam era, Agent Orange. Didn't know it then, but we know it now. Well, the rapid deployments that Marines and all services are going through now is a live case study right now, because it's unheard of. It's unheard of with the rotations that that the Marines are doing, the soldiers. Because I talk to soldiers as well, and the rotation that they're doing downrange is insane. But I think nobody was prepared for that wave and what it means for us right now. Right. So, which is again why I say that we should learn lessons from what happened in Vietnam, and now we see the impact of what we didn't know and how we're dealing with it now, and not let this newer conflict turn into the same thing. We get out in front of that. You know that this is something that's new. There's no way people can go down range that many times. And I tell everybody, going to combat, my 9-year-old always asks me, Dad, what'd you do that? Because he's thinking about the Hollywood movie he saw. But everybody's experience is different. You have no idea, and there's no way anybody that hasn't been has an idea of what happens in a combat zone.
And you don't want to tell them.
And it's literally that way because you have no idea what goes through the mind and the psyche when you're in the combat zone, knowing every second could be your last. It just changes the game. It changes the game. It changes the mindset.
And one of the things that we have to keep in mind that when we come back into the community, now we have a hard time dealing with civilians. But we got to be able to educate them. You know, we got to be able to engage them. There's a lot of guys say, I don't want to mess with the politicians now. But they determines your everyday quality of life by their policies, by what they legislate or fail to legislate sometimes. Right. And we, you know, based on our experiences, I think one of the biggest mistakes America made and coming out of segregation into integration, they didn't talk with the military because we were the first integrated community in America. Even while they was trying to stop integration, we was forced to integrate. Not because they liked us so much, but because they were trying to rebuild the military.
They needed us so much.
they needed bodies, right? And then they looked over and they saw the Marvelous Marines. They saw the so-called colored units and found the best soldiers. You know,
Kentucky Airmen, don't leave them out.
Right. Tuskegee Airmen, you know, I'm just talking about that era and how I think society missed something when they're not talking with people that came through that era to know that actually they want us to be separated, but we're better together.
And to that point now, so another thing that we learned when we talked about my former Marines is, again, I talk about the animosity that you would think is there is not, because what they tell you is when they were in were in combat, they were restricted to some of the more support roles, you know, ammo handlers, food support, but again, they needed bodies, so eventually they made their way to frontline combat because the replacements. And when they did, there was no color. That's why I say the bond between those Marines was unbreakable. Unbreakable. That bond was unbreakable because of what they went through together. Because you know they wasn't worried about a color. They was worried about taking care of each other so we can all get home. So that's a lesson that can be learned.
And see the story that I was telling about Eli. The guy that got Eli, both of them were from Georgia now. Both of them were born in segregation, went into the military segregation. But Jim, it was the white guy that killed 4 enemy soldiers with a K-ball to take Eli back.
See?
Wow. I mean, you know, and every
band of brothers, right?
They buried Eli in June, and Jim was there at his homegoing services. They were together every year. They made it their business to be together. You know, they made it their business to be together. No care what their family thought or what anybody else thought. Jim and Eli was going to be together because of that bond.
So that story is so familiar. We was talking about Sergeant Rodney Davis down in Macon. That's literally what happened there because he could have been buried all in the cemetery. He was a Medal of Honor recipient, but his mother saw it fit that she wanted him buried locally so that the local people could see this recognition. However, he was buried in a cemetery that was segregated. So he's in an all-black cemetery, and the day that cemetery is run down. So some Vietnam vets were passing through and ran across that gravesite, and it was a little wooden cross that was marking his grave. A Medal of Honor recipient, a little wooden cross was marking his grave. These are Marines that he saved, white Marines. He saved. They lost it. They couldn't believe it. So they led a campaign that raised almost $80,000.
Sure did.
To help resurrect a monument down there for Sergeant Rodney Davis, and that monument is still there to this day, and it's an awesome monument. My point is that bond. That's
what we got to be able to communicate, because see, there are forces in our country that would separate us, divide and conquer, and they almost did it in politics, almost. You know, almost we somebody just woke up and oh man, no. You know, and for that brief moment we realized that we're all Americans. Yeah. We got to stop the foolishness.
And thankfully, you know, as you said, of course, we just had an election, and if you look at the landscape throughout the country, I'm happy to see that we have more service members who are running for offices throughout the country. So that's a positive thing. It may take a while for it to take hold, but I think we're on the right track.
Yes.
Using that as an example, when we integrated those blacks that moved into politics, because before, in the 50s, you didn't see people of our complexion in politics, but now you do. And so we understand that there is a process, and there is a time, and there is a period of acceptance that we're dealing with. Some of us don't want to be that patient for acceptance, but it's a necessary process for us to blend in and become what we are today.
That's right.
Very present in the political system. You know, the idea of a black president, you know, that was just unheard of. And I can remember when he was elected, the number of seniors that were literally in tears over the fact that this had happened, you know.
During their lifetime, right?
Yeah, that they had observed something that happened in this country. And so, you know, that's something to be proud of. But it also helps us to understand what we're dealing with now.
Right.
You know, with that exception, with the changes in the politics and everything. And you just gotta hang in there.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because not only was this guy color, he had the character.
Oh yeah.
And the competency that president should have. You know, I mean, so that's why he was able to run around the country campaigning for this democracy and being accepted, you know, because of his character and his morality.
There you go.
And another thing I'd like to point out too, I mean, and just across the board, I can remember doing my Marine Corps days, being a personnel officer at one MEF or whatever the case may be in Okinawa. I used to always made it my point to talk to the young, especially the young officers that's coming in, and across the board, not only just young officers, but enlisted as well as officers. We need to let them know that not everybody's going to stay, but a lot of time we miss the fact that in order to grow something, it takes a period of time.
Exactly.
You know, so a lot of them will come in and says, well, you know, I'm doing the reserve bid. I got to serve 3 or 4 years or whatever. Then I'm getting out. We finally got our first 4-star. Black 4-star in the Marine Corps. Finally, after all of these years, you know. Then I used to think back to a lot of the Marine that was getting out, and this is across all spectrum. We have got to be at the table, or as I call it, be inside the tent, in order to make changes. Okay, you can holler outside, they're gonna only close the door. So we have to let our kids, and let them know these are the things you have to get involved in. You have to get involved and stay involved, because that's what's going to make the difference. Not going to be overnight, but if you stay involved, we'll make the difference. And too many of us, we're just not doing it, and a lot of us are not telling them that you need to do it.
Right. Yes.
So we need to do a better job at that.
Well, that's why we got Veterans Talk. This is always Veterans Talk with veterans and the community about all things veterans. We are part of a community that I think is undervalued, and today we just raised the bar a little bit with the Marine Corps birthday. This is what we do. We have to have our own media because the traditional media, local media, is just deal with us for ratings. Right. We have to have the conversation that we're having today need to be in the community every day.
Right.
Because one of the things that's happening, we got people that think about crime as if it can't be dealt with. We have a twisted society. We got probably one man in this country today that can put a stop to crime tomorrow. And that's the one that just bought Quitters. All you got to do is give everybody in the community $100,000 again, crimes committed in a week. This is Veterans Talk. But it's a thing we want you to tune into every Saturday evening. We're here trying to do what we've been trying to do ever since we started the show. Make sense out of a sensitive situation called the plight of veterans in the USA. And the USA with the plight of veterans, we are our brother's keeper. We are our brother's keeper. And we need to make sure that the community understand that we have to look out for the least of these. That's among us. Then we are made whole by what we do in the community every day. We can have a safe community if we just stand up as veterans and tell them we don't want no war weapons in the community. We don't want no war weapons.
Very good.
I was in combat in Vietnam. I don't want to be in combat in my hometown.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you guys again. And I think we're probably at the end of the show, so Tony, I'm going to let you do what you do all the time.
Okay.
Take it to the end and give us something to say.
Yeah. Very briefly, as we end this particular show, once again, I want to say thank you for the Marines. We have been impressed. Yes, please. We have been.
Let's get the Marines on camera. Give them some love. Let's get the Marines on camera. Come back here.
See what the
there we go.
Yeah.
The best fighting force.
There we go.
That's it. Here's a perfect example of what I was saying earlier, is how the military trains people to serve in the military. And the thing that's impressive about it, these young men, they have a great career ahead of them if they choose to continue in everything. And so, I just want to salute you guys and say thank you, as we hear all this week. Thank you for your service.
Right.
Yes. But the other thing we're going to talk about, of course, is the Vietnam Memorial that's being built in Piedmont Park. The big thing about that is, yes, these young men, the 240 rough who died in Vietnam or during the era, were from the metropolitan Atlanta area, Atlanta, Fulton County. Yes, there's a memorial in Washington, D.C., and those of us who've seen it, we were amazed by it. But one of the things we want to do, those 240 so guys from Atlanta, Fulton County, we want to bring them home.
Yes.
We want them here. We want their names plastered on a memorial here in the city where they grew up, where they were born. They went to school. Some went to college or different schools. We want to say, we're proud of you, and we want you here, and this is how we're going to do it. And so that's one of the things that we're doing, is raising funds to build a memorial in historic Piedmont Park so that we can honor those veterans. And I say it proudly, anyone and know everyone. It's something that just makes you want to throw up your chest. And the thing about it is, watching this show today, no, I'm not a Marine, I'm in Air Force, but and I am a Vietnam era veteran, and but I'm still proud. I'm still proud. And I'm proud of the country, I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud of what they're doing. But as we know in life, there's always room for improvement. And that's what we're trying to bring light to, those things that need to be improved. And one of the things that we want to improve is the recognition of those 240 guys. And so we're looking for support, any type of support for anyone willing to and want to see this memorial being built in Atlanta, Fulton County. If you have any political contact, particularly with anybody in the city of Atlanta, encourage them to support this memorial, because it is critical. And then, of course, the other thing is supporting the memorial itself. We're asking any veteran or family member or anyone who has, am I approaching the time? Who has a memorial or a member of the military that served, not just in Vietnam, but any branch.
Yes.
Here's an opportunity to permanently memorialize that person in historic Piedmont Park by purchasing a commemorative brick. Their name will be permanently there for now on. And so here's an opportunity. I've already said, you know, Atlanta's a great city. People are always visiting here. And one of the things my family does is we have a reunion every so often. And I'm going to say it's going to be a proud moment once the memorial is bid for that to be a part of the tour for our reunion.
Yes.
And so
Good deal.
any family can do that. Any fraternity, any sorority, you know, here's an opportunity to memorialize those members of your organization who served during this era in historic Piedmont Park. So here's an opportunity. Go to sonsofatlanta.org, sonsofatlanta.org, and commemorative brick. Here you go. Here's an opportunity to do that. Also, review the website. There's a lot of information about veterans within the Atlanta area that is on that website. But our biggie, of course, is getting you to make a contribution. So we want to thank everybody for watching the show today.
Yes.
And we're encouraging everybody to donate or at least visit the show again. It is amazing the amount of information that we learned today. Here's an opportunity to learn about the military within our Atlanta community and what they're doing. And so this is just a small portion of it. We're encouraging everybody from Saturdays from 4 until 5, Veterans Talk, and we'll be talking about these items and other items within the military community and with the Atlanta community. So join us next week, 4 o'clock. Salute.
Happy birthday, Marines.